Hi guys, I hope this is working. I don't know, you're in a different place to usual. So yeah, after, this is kind of a video that I'm kind of diving a little bit more deeply into something I got into last video. So last video I was talking about Lilibet and her eye colour, and I've seen the most weird conspiracy theories. I delved a little deeper because I realised that, you know, people really do think that Harry and Meghan are using a decoy child, that for some reason they would be pretending that Lily has blue eyes, you know, that it's some sort of conspiracy. And, you know, it makes a lot of sense. Someone made the comment, and I wish I had the comment to hand. I'm so sorry to whoever this is. They put it so much better than I did, which is, you know, the anger people have about the idea of Lily and Archie being kind of paler skinned. The anger is that they wanted an excuse to visually discriminate against them, or to see that visual difference. It's much easier to discriminate against someone on something visual. If someone is visually alien or different, it's easier for certain people to discriminate. And there is a real anger that they're not darker skinned, which again doesn't really make much sense because, you know, Meghan is quite light skinned, not to negate her experiences of racism, of course, but she's quite light skinned. You know, Harry's white, the rest of his family's white. So, you know, thinking kind of statistically, Archie and Lily were probably always going to be quite light-skinned. Not to say that it can't happen that you could be darker-skinned, you know, in lots of families, you know, it can pass through from another generation. In my family, so my brother and I are half Indian and half English, and, you know, we've got different cousins who are kind of the similar, you know, half Indian, half English, and some of us are darker or paler than the others. Even my brother and I, with the same parents, are kind of ever so slightly different. And, you know, in terms of genetics as well, like the idea of, I've seen people saying silly things like, how can she possibly have blue eyes? Like, how can she have blue eyes when, you know, Meghan's got brown eyes and brown eyes are more dominant? Well, just from experience, you know, in our family, so I've got brown eyes, I've got eyes like my dad and my grandma Bibi. Sorry, I'm just gonna like move that over. Sorry, that's a weird angle, but I'm in a weird setup right now, sorry. But yeah, I mean, I've got dark eyes, my dad's got dark eyes, my grandma Bibi and my Indian granddad have had dark eyes, very dark eyes. But my mum has like green eyes. Her mum, my other grandma, has got very dark eyes. And yet the kind of greeny eyes pass through. My brother has greeny, bluey eyes, which has passed through. Some of my cousins are Indian, but they've got like bluey, greeny eyes. So it does happen genetically. You know, it's not some sort of lie. It's just the way things are sometimes. I mean, my brother's never had dark eyes. I've always had dark eyes. We've got the same parents. Like, it's just how things happen sometimes. It's just weird, the kind of explanations people will come up with to explain things which are entirely rational. Like, you know, it's not a big conspiracy that Lily has blue eyes. They didn't pluck a random blue-eyed child just so that they could say, oh, she's got the Spencer genes, because I'm pretty sure that Archie's got brown eyes and they've said that. You know? Like, I think people have projected so much of their ideas of Meghan and Harry onto them and everything they do, that just the kind of genetic situation of one of the kids looking more like Harry and one of the kids looking more like Meghan has become some sort of conspiracy. Like, you know, oh, they're trying to make out that, you know, Lily's the next Diana. And it's like, that's ridiculous. They are a mixed family. Harry has, like, blue eyes. Meghan's got brown eyes. Their kids have got, you know, one of them's got blue eyes, one of them's got brown eyes. That's a really lovely thing, that they represent different parts of their ancestry. But no, that is a conspiracy. And again, it doesn't make sense, because if the idea was to try and sell them as, you know, I've seen people accusing, and I will get to this, saying that Harry and Meghan are trying to merchandise the children, right? And try and merchandise Lilibet and her appearance. And they want to sell her as being very similar to Diana. And it's just incredibly bizarre, because first of all, if they wanted to do that, it's I feel weird even saying it, but, you know, why would, it doesn't make sense. I can't even get into that realm of fiction. I was going to try, but I can't. It's too weird. But, like, they've got two kids and one of them has brown and one of them has blue eyes. If they were, like, constructing these children or selecting these children, like, and they were specifically trying to say, like, oh, they've got blue eyes like Diana, both the children, I'm sure if they had the power to randomly create a child in whatever image they wanted, and they wanted to merchandise them, they'd probably both have blue eyes. But also, you know, the idea of merchandising, it's not merchandising for a child to have the same colour eyes as their father and grandmother. Right, that's the reality here. And as with so many things with Harry and Meghan, and it is more twisted when it comes to the kids, because don't bring the children into this. You know, Lilibet does not need to be involved in these weird conspiracy theories. She's just a child. You know, the idea that her existing is some sort of anomaly. And I think, again, it's that racist thing, because they think, well, how dare she? How dare that child that has a drop of blackness in her, right? How dare she? It's like the one drop rule. How dare she have the Aryan blue eyes? Oh, it must be a fake, or it must be deliberate. And the thing is, to normal people, it actually doesn't matter. Like, normal people, it exposes their racism. Normal people aren't thinking, oh, Diana is more like the one that looks the most like Diana. Like, that's not how life works, right? Diana's in all of the grandkids. Why would it even matter which of the kids looked more like her, or anything like that? Normal people don't see having, like, there's so much jealousy and narcissism in it, right? It's like, oh, she's got something we should have. And no, it's a child existing. It's a child existing in a way that makes sense genetically. Like, I don't know. But I looked this up and it scared me. So I found this one video from a channel that I'd not watched before. And there's so many channels like this, and sadly they're from the UK. And I always feel ashamed when I see something like this from the UK, but, you know. So give me a second to sort this out, and I'm going to read you a transcript of this really short video, which, when I was kind of researching some of these conspiracy theories, it kind of really stuck out to me as a representative of just how despicable these people are and how far gone they are. To think that they are saying these things about, first of all, a family that they don't know, and their child, right? And again, I just want to say here as well, you know, sometimes I get a lot of troll comments these days on the royal videos, and it fascinates me. I appreciate people, like, you know, being nice and sticking up for me on those videos, but I don't really mind. I think it's interesting psychologically, because I do find it bewildering. I find it odd, and I'm interested in it psychologically. I think there's almost a sort of, I've said this before, I won't do it all here, but there's a kind of almost faith element, right? An identity element tied to the British royal family that we've been conditioned with. And I think a lot of people find it so destabilising to have that questioned in any way that they feel it like it's a personal wound. And it makes them very, very defensive. And it is interesting to me, you know, I'm someone with faith, you know, religious faith myself, but to have your faith attached to a man-made family which doesn't care at all about you, and in fact is like a firm, right, is a PR campaign for something. It's just interesting, right? It's very, very interesting the way we've been conditioned to associate in Britain the royals with something that is ours, when really, if you look at it, it's something which actively hurts us. Fascinating, but I find it interesting. So yeah, I'm just going to find that video for you. Give me a second. Okay, sorry if I've moved. Hopefully I'm still in frame. Okay, so I found this when I was doing some research. It's a video called "Lilibet's Eyes Aren't Blue. That's why Harry and Meghan didn't show their daughter's face in documentary by Royal Massive." Okay, so I went on the video and I watched the video. It's strange and depressing, but I'll get into it. So first of all, this channel called Royal Massive has 55.7k subscribers, which is a decent amount. It's a bit more than I have, but it's quite a decent chunk of people. And this video has had about 21,000 views. It was made in December of 2022, and it's tagged with Meghan Markle, Lilibet, and Prince Harry. So the description to this reads, "Harry reveals that his daughter Lilibet has the same blue eyes as Princess Diana. In the final episode of the Harry and Meghan docuseries, Harry said, 'I think at the moment I see a lot of my wife in Archie. I see a lot of my mum, Princess Diana, in Lily. She's very Spencer-like. She's got the same blue eyes,' Prince Harry says, adding that Lilibet has golden reddish hair. Meghan excitedly says, 'Blue, blue, blue.'" So, I feel like that doesn't really prepare you for what this is. So, the thumbnail, I'm going to make it bigger on the screen, but I'll put it on the screen for you properly. So there's a picture of Meghan looking kind of smug and evil, and then there's a picture of Lilibet crawling and a picture of Diana in the corner, so it looks like she's kind of crawling towards her, and then there's like a red box that says "not blue." Okay, so this is the transcript of basically the YouTube video. So I'm going to read this to you and we're going to pause at some points. "Harry reveals that his daughter Lilibet has the same blue eyes as Princess Diana in the final episode of the Harry and Meghan docuseries. Harry said, "I think at the moment I see a lot of my wife in Archie, and I see a lot of my mum in Lily. She's very Spencer-like. She's got the same blue eyes," Prince Harry says, adding that Lily has golden reddish hair. Meghan excitedly says blue, 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 and at this point he does an impression of Meghan. "Everything with them is the Diana connection. William and Charles have blue eyes too, and so does Charlotte. Diana, Diana, Diana. He sells himself as Diana's son. She sells herself as the new Diana. Lily will be merchandised as Diana reborn. All it really means is they have nothing, not a thing to say about themselves. The merchandise is literally the only thing they have to sell. Get your Diana granddaughter here, your red-hot Diana granddaughter here. Only Diana granddaughter with blue, blue eyes in the world." Okay, so let's kind of go through this, and it is weird to see a grown man saying those things in the video. I can't lie, it's a bit disturbing. But okay, let's talk about this. So to say everything with them is the Diana connection is, first of all, not true. You know, I think in the documentary and in a lot of what they talk about, I think Meghan talks very much about Doria. You know, Harry speaks so much about the respect he has for Doria and how much of a big part she is in the lives of their children. And I actually do think it's a disservice to her, you know, to say that, oh, they're trying to make it all about Diana. No, they're not. Harry is a boy that lost his mother at a formative age. It's incredibly normal and nice, actually, that he wants to see elements of her in his kids and that he's proud of that. You know, I don't see what's wrong with that. Even if you didn't lose your mother at that age, why is that so weird? You know, I don't get it. To say everything with them is the Diana connection, while this man is, you know, promoting a video using Diana's image, he's got no connection to Diana, but, you know, Harry is literally her son. There is the Diana connection. It's not this made-up thing, you know, they're not people nothing to do with Diana who are pretending to be to do with Diana. You know, that's her literal son and his literal children. The idea that he literally says here, he sells himself as Diana's son. He is Diana's son. I'm like, don't understand. Like, that is Diana's son. That is one of Diana's only 2 sons in the whole world. And he is one of them. And he's proud of that fact. And then he says that Meghan tries to sell herself as the new Diana. That's really not true. If you look at the way that the magazines that we go through on this channel brand Kate, and again, I'm not talking about Kate as a human being. I'm talking about the way she is branded through the machine, because I don't know her as a human being. But the way they brand her is they always try and connect her to Diana, right? They constantly try and use her children to connect them to Diana and the monarchy, and everything really they're doing with those children in that family is essentially grooming them for roles that they haven't consented to yet. It's trying to make out, you know, just the very act of saying, oh, George is the next king, he's going to be the next king after William, when he hasn't even decided yet, is really weird. But, you know, there was a cover recently talking about how Kate was a Sloane Ranger. They really try and lean on the Diana sort of connections. And again, it's interesting because they always seem to try and connect Kate with early Diana. Whereas I think the people who connect Meghan and Diana are connecting them because this is a kind of, it's not the same struggle because Meghan's has come in a different form and in a different generation, but it's a similar sort of fight. And I don't want to say it's just Meghan, because Harry too, you know, Harry is so much like his mum. But I think it's undeniable that the situation they're in, going up against the press, right, and kind of, I won't say they're going up against the firm, but being in a position where they've been kind of blocked out because they're not seen as towing the line, is very similar. And their treatment has been very similar. So, you know, these people who say, oh, Meghan's trying to sell herself as the new Diana, I've never seen Meghan do that. I think it's a reasonable observation to make that she's being treated in a similar way to Diana, how Diana was treated. I think at some points in history, I think Sarah Ferguson was treated in a similar way. I think Harry's been treated in a similar way, although it's different, you know, because of gender roles, he's kind of gone through it a bit differently. That's just people who've been victims of that system. And it just so happens that Meghan is one of the people who's come out of it and has maintained her voice, and she's been incredibly strong, and people see the parallels to Diana. I think there's a lot of similarities there. I don't know the people individually, I might be completely wrong, but I think it's not bizarre for people to see those parallels, honestly. You know, people tend to forget conveniently that the same things they call Meghan are the kind of things Although worse with Meghan, because with Meghan there's the racial edge and the idea that she stole a white prince away. Whereas Diana was a white woman anyway, so she wasn't seen as stealing something that wasn't hers. But the same things they say about Meghan, you know, I wonder if we'd lived in the same age of social media then. They were kind of gearing up to treat Diana in the same way. You know, calling her crazy and manipulative and flaky and selfish and all about herself. And again, that's just an abuse playbook. It's not specific to the royal family, I guess, but, you know, to see it happening in that family and to see that abuse playbook happening and to see someone get out of it and escape, I think that that is a natural connection. Right? That's not a weird connection that people are trying to shoehorn in. It's just reality, you know, what's going on in front of us. Whether or not people, you know, whatever they think of the individuals involved, that's not a weird connection to make. Meghan has always been herself. You know, she's very much her own thing. And the kind of gaslighting here is that that's part of the reason why she's being so attacked. Right? It's because she is her own person. Like, don't let systems like this fool you, and don't let people like this fool you. They'll attack these people for the crime. You know, they'll say, oh, they're copying so-and-so, they're doing this, they're doing that. The real reason they're so angry is that these people are individuals who won't be controlled, and that's why they have to destroy them. They wouldn't need to control them otherwise. They wouldn't need to smear them and destroy their reputations. It's actually their own projected fear of the way people felt about Diana, the way people feel about how her youngest son's being treated, how his wife's being treated, and people seeing those patterns. And somehow that's been projected back onto Meghan, which is part of the abuse playbook. It's called projection. It's being projected back onto her as if that's also her fault. Because in an abuse situation, it's always the victim's fault. The projected wrongs, or even the things that the actual perpetrator does, will be assigned to the victim so that the victim can be further blamed and abused, basically. It's basically like if someone is abused for a really long time and then they talk about it and then they'll be accused of being like, oh, poor little me, you want sympathy. And people will focus on that to try and devalue the victim and somehow make their actual pain and their struggle into something which paints them in a bad light. You know, it's really sick. And also him saying, you know, it means that they have nothing to say about themselves and the only merchandise are linked to Diana. I thought the problem, these people don't make any sense, right? They're so angry that Meghan and Harry have gone somewhere else. They're doing their own thing. They've got a mixed race family. You know, they're doing things their own way. Yet then they get told, oh, you're trying to copy people. You know, you've got nothing to offer. And it's kind of like, well, just stop obsessing over them. You guys know you can only make your content obsessing over them. You know, this guy's channel, if you look at what he's got on there, it's not great. You know, I don't really know what to say about it other than the fact that if you look at the list of videos he's made, and he's not the only one who does this, I have to be fair, but, you know, it's clickbait and it's desperately wanting harm on Meghan. You know, it's creating this sensationalized, awful clickbait. And it's interesting because these are people who would probably act like they probably quite liked Diana. And yet this is a very modern version of what happened to Diana with an added element. He then talks about how the Waleses, you know, for no money at all, occasionally give us glimpses of a sweet, sassy young lady who shows signs of being both Diana's granddaughter and Elizabeth's great-granddaughter. But she's also her own person, a young lady who likes sports and music and has a great time. So basically, again, and you get this in abuse dynamics, this person is pitting Charlotte and Lily against each other for absolutely no reason. Like, it doesn't make any sense. They're both individual people. Like, they're both in difficult situations in various ways. They're both children. They are both Diana's granddaughter. They are both Elizabeth's great-grandchildren. And notice how he's only talking about Charlotte being Elizabeth's great-granddaughter and showing the signs. And I want to know what that means. What does showing the signs of that actually mean? Because for me, it feels very racially tinged. You know, she's being described as sweet and sassy. And again, it's this weird picture that people build up of the royal children, who are essentially mascots in this system and being photographed and filmed, you know, when they probably don't want to be, and they're not really old enough to be able to opt out. And again, what's happening to Harry and Meghan is a massive threat to them. I've got a video coming about especially what they're doing with George recently. They're really ramping up the pressure on poor George. But it's kind of pitting these two girls against each other when it doesn't make any sense. These are two innocent children, neither of whom chose their positions, who are both going through it. And this kind of enmity between them is so pointless, because I would have thought anybody with a heart would hope that at some point those two girls who are in different yet similar situations would be able to connect with each other and help each other out. You know, if only, even if they don't agree on a lot of stuff, if only to deal with the fact that they're kind of being stalked as kids, right? Things are being assumed about them before they've had a chance to even figure out who they are. And again, you get this in abuse dynamics, like in families. The jealousy comes from the adults. It doesn't come from the kids. And what happens is it's a conditioning. It's a lacking that the adults feel that they project onto the children, and they make it into a competition. And I could get into this in another video, but you see this a lot in abusive family dynamics, and it's basically what we're seeing happen here to two completely innocent children. He says about Harry and Meghan share footage from Lily's first birthday party earlier in the final episode, and the couple reveals footage and photos of Lily's first days. We had a couple of side views and then lots of her in a huge hat, and then we saw her crawling from above, but no close-up clear views so we could actually see her red hair and blue eyes. Therefore, royal fans couldn't help but guess that her eyes aren't actually blue. And again, this is how abusers think and their logic. They think that their logic is what everyone else is thinking. They've dehumanised Harry and Meghan to such a degree that they can't understand that, first of all, they're not entitled to close-up photographs of someone's child. No, that's not why Lilibet was born. She wasn't born to be someone that we could all take a look at whenever we wanted. She doesn't belong to us. But also, you know, not understanding the humanity, which is that why do you think some people and some celebrities might not want big close-up pictures of their kids out there, right? Why might they would not want that? For security reasons, for safety reasons. Why would royal fans, and I don't even believe royal fans did, I think this is just people like him projecting their own weird mentality onto people to make themselves feel better about it. Royal fans actually guessed that her eyes aren't really blue. Well, what would be the benefit? What would be the point of lying about her eye colour? What would actually be the point of that? Because children's eye colour changes all the time. At some point, people are going to see Lilibet, you know, and realise what her eye colours are. You know, most importantly, who cares what colour her eyes are? You know, only these people care. They care so much that they act like Harry and Meghan care. I guarantee you that they would have been thrilled with, you know, it wouldn't have mattered what Archie and Lily looked like to them, right? That's their babies. Those are their babies and their children. They're just thrilled that they're here. He says that Harry and Meghan are so desperate to convince the public that Lily is Diana reincarnated, and those Markle genes are hella strong. Previously, Prince Harry was reportedly persistent in his desire for a professional photo of his daughter Lilibet with his grandmother, the late Queen. Harry and wife Meghan Markle brought their children, 3-year-old Archie and 1-year-old Lilibet, to the UK. The Queen got to meet her 11th great-grandchild and her namesake Lilibet for the first time, and was reunited with Archie after not seeing him for several years. It was at this meeting that both Harry and Meghan were thought to be keen to get an official snap of great-grandmother and great-grandchild, but reports have suggested this request was denied by the Queen, as she'd had a bloodshot eye. He then mentions Camilla Tominey, claiming that Harry was really persistent in wanting the photo taken, and then says the couple made another beeline for Windsor Castle. Travelling straight there after landing at the airport, the Queen refused the request to have professional photographs taken with Lilibet. Sorry, I'm really reading that in a terrible manner. I'm seeing transcript here. That, again, these sinister motives are being applied to them. So, Elizabeth was elderly, right? So I remember I had the best great-grandma you could ever imagine. She was just the kindest, gentlest, wonderful person ever. And, you know, when she was getting older, it's incredibly precious to have family photos, especially if you're not around people a lot. You know, we had the privilege of being with her for so much. But I know how important that is in families, and especially to a family where, to Harry, you know, this is part of Lily and Archie's history, and it's something that the press and racists are trying to exclude them from. So, you know, whether or not you're pro-royal family, I can understand wanting to have a picture of your child with their great-grandmother who you love, right? And for that to be presented as something which is inappropriate and pushy, and again, it's fine, you know, if the Queen had a bloodshot eye and she didn't want to be photographed with the bloodshot eye, that's fair enough. That's absolutely fine. But the urge to, you know, when you know an elderly relative that you love is coming to the end of their life, you know, you want to have memories, you want to have photos, you want to show these little kids that, you know, they were here with you. I remember when my grandma Bibi was ill before she died, and there were so many photos of her taken with the little kids in the family, and they're so precious, those photographs now, because those kids will grow up and they'll see those photographs and they'll know that they were with her and that she really loved them, And they're really precious things. I don't know why there's this move to make out that's something so evil. He finishes by saying that, Harry was really persistent, but eventually the photo never happened because, unfortunately, Elizabeth died 3 months later. So yeah, it is a really bizarre take to have on someone else's family, isn't it really? It's very, very strange. But I just wanted to look at the comments on this video because this is the sort of video that's probably making money out of this hatred. It's probably lucrative. It probably makes them feel big to have people saying, oh, you're right, she's evil. It's lazy and it's unkind, essentially. And it's just, it makes me sad. It makes me sad. The sort of responses that we've got is like this loop of hatred, and it's like they work each other into this kind of frenzy of hating Meghan, Harry, and their kids. For nothing. It's like they drive themselves into this state of anger about absolutely nothing in this loop. And for some reason, even though they're doing this to each other, they are then blaming that level of high feeling on Meghan and Harry, who really aren't giving them anything to go on. But somehow they're still being blamed. And I'm just looking on the comment section here, and just the fact that this is titled, Lilibet's eyes aren't blue. Why would you say that about someone else's child? It's causing ridiculous speculation about the physical characteristics of an infant. And these are some of the comments. What difference does the colour of her eyes make? Correct. This couple are truly off their heads. And again, it's that projection. They kind of half get it right. What difference does it make? It doesn't make any difference. Followed by, oh, that's so stupid. That's Harry and Meghan's fault, even though actually this weird conspiracy theorist put this into my head. It's Harry and Meghan's fault. Someone calls Lilibet a rented baby, and think about how dehumanising it is. It's not uncommon to see Lilibet or Archie referred to as it or a thing, and dehumanising language towards infants is worrying to me. I just feel there's something very wrong there. They are setting up to dehumanise them like their mother and father, and I think that they're doing it early because I think their consciences won't be able to take it, when they see these kids a little bit older. I think they will naturally see their vulnerability and feel bad. So I think they need to build up this dehumanization early and say, well, it's okay because they're not real. That's why they're doing this partly, aside from the racism. They're doing it so that they can see them as not human, so they can treat them really badly. I guess the people at the Child Talent Agency didn't have a blue-eyed girl available the day she had brown eyes. Take heart, Lily lovers. She will have blue eyes the next time. The saga of their children. It's implying that the children don't exist so that they can be dehumanized, so that these people don't have to consider the fact that they're being so vile about literal children. Pretty sad that they're so disappointed their daughter didn't turn out the way they wanted. Pathetic. Again, it's assigning some weird interpretation that a conspiracy theorist has made to Harry and Meghan, who've never been anything but proud of their kids. The gruesome twosome brought no children to the UK for the Jubilee unless they were stowed in the baggage department of the private plane. The Queen met no one who was supposed to be Handbag's daughter. Again, the idea of putting them in the luggage compartment of a plane, it treats them like they're objects and not children. Oedipus complex, Harry, master narcissist, Meghan, non-existent children, Archie and Lily, non-existent miscarriage, Meghan again. Please let's get the facts straight and stop buying into the Harkles delusions. Bear in mind how this is another step up of evil, because it was evil enough to do this to Harry and Meghan, but the children are now part of that. They're not real, they're non-existent, they are the Harkles. These children are part of it. Someone says here about how Diana passed ages ago. We don't care anymore about Diana, but she will always be in our hearts, and still in 1980 the time has passed and now it's Catherine and William who are following in Diana's footsteps. Sorry Diana, time has passed for you. Harry misused your name more than enough and let you rest in peace. That doesn't make any sense. Also, why would you tell... I don't know why this person's talking as if... It doesn't make sense. You passed on ages ago. We don't care anymore. Also, we'll always love you, Diana. Also, Harry's misusing your name. Like, what about you don't tell someone's child, right, who lost their mother at a young age, that they are misusing their name? Like, you don't know, Diana. May the Lord bless these children to overcome the racism and bias of their parents. I had to pause for a moment because I didn't know what they were talking about, who they were talking about here. May they discover the strength and pride that they can see in their grandparents, aunts and uncles to overcome the poison infesting their parents. May these children receive love, warmth, faith, security and pride in themselves without the baggage laid on them by their moronic, self-serving, bitter, narcissistic parents. Okay, talking about the Lord here, and I'm speaking as a Christian, when I think about Jesus and the words of the Bible, I think about protecting those who are vulnerable. Jesus says that it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to reach the gates of heaven. He didn't believe in oppression, you know. It's our duty as Christians to stand with the poor and the weak and the oppressed and the vulnerable. That is not what the royal family is doing. So somehow accusing Harry and Meghan of racism is just bizarre. And again, it's like when people talk about racism, they are accused of being racist. Like, it's considered worse to some people to be called racist than to actually be racist. Nutmeg would have to have a blue gene for Lilibet to have true blue-eye genetic expression. The best I can see from her family lines is Hazel. I'm sure Nutmeg is saving the kids as photo ops for cold hard cash, the last card she can play. They're ridiculous, aren't they? Lol. This is ridiculous, actually. But again, we're getting into that almost Nazi idea, right? It's getting into that Nazi genetics thing. Like, you know, I don't know if you guys are fully aware of, like, the race science that went on in Nazi Germany. Sorry if my eyes are watering, by the way. I'm not getting upset, even though this is an upsetting topic. It's because I've got old eyeliner on, and it's, like, making my eyes hurt. But, you know, talking about genetic expression and, you know, purity, and this is where it goes. How can Meghan, oh, she doesn't have the right gene, you know, it's the idea of them, you know, there was the article about Meghan thickening the royal blood. All that kind of direction is incredibly Nazi. The best I can see from her family lines is Hazel. Is this person an actual Nazi? I doubt either if they have blue eyes. I love Diana, but he has ruined her for me. These people are just... How do they think Diana would feel about this? You know, about anyone treating any of her grandchildren like they didn't exist and that they were lesser and that they should be excluded. Like, how do they think Diana, who so famously loved and cared for children of all different colours, all different situations, how do they think she would feel about any of this? Someone says didn't even put their kids on a Christmas card, as if, again, we're entitled. We're not entitled to these people's children. I mean, imagine if, like, we asked that of any random person. Imagine just going up to someone and saying, we demand a photo of your children in high definition. Like, what do you think would happen? You would get arrested for that. This is sick. There's no children. This nasty duo, they are not capable. Bizarre. Really bizarre. Apparently being not a very nice person means you're incapable of having children. I kind of wish that if you were a nasty person, you wouldn't have kids in whatever way that manifests. But as we can see, and as we know from the world we live in, doesn't matter what sort of person you are, that doesn't factor into whether or not you have kids at all. Borrowed children, people are saying just walking back their lies, considering science doesn't back their story of red hair and blue eyes coming out of both of them. It's just like they're making up random science now. Like, yes, it does. Like, I'm from a mixed race family. Some of us in our family have green eyes, right? The rest of us, you know, there's a lot of family members who are darker skinned, very dark eyes. Some of us have still got green eyes. Some of us are very pale skinned. Like, when they say science here, what they actually mean is their racism can't compute it. You know, those children were supposed to be darker, so they could dismiss those children. And so I guess everyone's lying. Meghan and Harry are lying. Science itself is fake. Fake kids, somebody says. Someone said the flight records don't reflect any children, so they've been going through flight records to look up whether the children were there, which is really creepy. Someone says, in a recent conversation, it would seem that black or brown eyes are dominant. Yes, often, you know, dark eyes usually are dominant, unless you've got a very, very strong line or genetics, which is what's happened with my brother, who's got, like, greeny blue eyes, and I've got very dark brown eyes. It's true that often brown eyes are more powerful in that situation, but, you know, sometimes the genes are strong and they go through. And again, people saying things like, what happened with genetics? Did it go haywire for these two? Again, they thought, it's like the one drop rule. It's them thinking, oh, you know, Meghan's mixed race, therefore those children needed to be dark skinned. How dare they? How dare they have white skin? How dare they have pale skin? How dare they have blue eyes? Because they don't deserve it. Because these people think of having pale skin and blue or green eyes as being a signifier of being better than other people. That's all they're revealing with this. In their sick minds, they think that's something that shows you're a better person, which is a really racist and Nazi way to think. Anyway, yeah, so sorry this is such a weird one, and sorry the light is odd because I'm in a weird place, and not a flattering look for me. I did do my hair back earlier, but it's quite late now. I'll show you what it looks like. I don't know if it's even stayed in. I tried to, like, my hair's so long that it's hard to get it into, like, a sort of updo kind of thing. But I was busy today, so I needed to get it out of the way. Yeah, thank you for watching this. Let me know what you think in the comments section. I need to go and wash my eye makeup off because I definitely used the wrong eyeliner and it's really hurting my eye. Much like the late Elizabeth, I too will probably have a bloodshot eye tomorrow. I hope this hasn't upset you too much. I know it's upsetting to see them dehumanizing children like this, but lots of love. And remember, there's a lot of love out there in the world and a lot of good people in the world. And I'm sure that if we speak up, more and more people will realize what's going on. Okay, I love you loads and I'll see you really soon. Bye.